Everything is fine here on Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Michael Mudge, joined by Greg Van Beck, Dustin DeFranco, and Zach Ault. And we've got the full crew here today, talking mostly things Star Wars. We're going to be looking to talk some Bad Batch today. I think we've got a lot to discuss for this conversation.
We're doing it live.
Some people are very passionate about some of these episodes, and I think it's all going to create some good discussion for today. So how are you guys doing today?
All right.
That's good. It's a good start. Zach's feeling better.
Yeah, I'm feeling better. I'm back to 90-ish% after months of sickness from my wonderful toddler. So
the gift that keeps on giving.
Yep. Stomach bugs and colds and all sorts of holiday fun for all of my family and I.
I would take a cold like 11 times out of 10 over a stomach bug.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I mean, yeah. What I got when I was down in St. Louis, I got it in Iowa. Like, my wife got it in St. Louis when we were visiting, and it was nasty.
Worse than the norovirus?
No, that was the worst. Because I was definitely nauseous, and I didn't have to throw up. With the norovirus that you gave me, 4 or 5 years ago, I mean, I was on the toilet. I couldn't pick out which one I was doing. It was bad.
It's like a skit out of Family Guy or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, and Dustin, you're doing a little bit of renovation in your house. You got to do some demo.
Yeah, we didn't get to smash anything, but we did take a big mirror down. So, our bathroom so we have what's called a master walkthrough. So it's 15 feet long, but it's only 5 feet wide. And then, there's a shower on the side and a tub. And so it's just outdated, right? It's got this fake stone vinyl. And then the vanity first of all, the vanity is only 30 inches tall. So you're the Hunchback of Notre Dame trying to brush your teeth and, wash your hands. And so we're ripping that out, replacing that with a new one, light fixture, painting, replacing the toilet, and redoing the floors. So I think we'll probably look at doing the shower. The shower, it's like a shell. So we'll probably have that ripped out and replaced. We won't do that. We're doing everything else. We paid a guy to do the floors, but he gave us a rock solid deal. So I didn't want to do all the math, I much prefer to do the math.
Do you?
No.
Do you?
Just kidding. So yeah, we were doing that. I didn't think I was going to make the podcast, but we got it done in time.
Nailed it.
Literally.
And Greg, you've got some big news. Are you able to share it yet? Or I mean, it's on public. Facebook. It's on public Facebook forums. So,
well, then it doesn't need to be shared, does it?
Well, not all of our listeners are friends with you on Facebook.
Well, that's their fault. So now wife and I went. My mic's way over here. Wife and I went to the doctor the other day, and for those that don't know, she's 20 weeks pregnant. So do that math. So we were able to do the ultrasound and found out that we got a little boy coming in early
Congrats.
June. So thank you. Yep. So that'll be one of each.
Can you push it to late June? Because then that'll be the same birthday as my kid.
No, that's I think my wife's not even gonna let it get to June. She'll just end of May, just rush to the hospital and pop it out. I have no say in the matter. I just go where I'm told when I'm told.
Was Everly a natural birth or was she a C-section?
No, natural.
Yeah. So I mean, we were a C-section with Bennett. So I say we is all Callie. but I mean, when you have one C-section, it's kind of almost assume that you probably have the second kid as a C-section.
Yeah. No, she actually talked to the doctor because it was natural. And I mean, natural, no drugs, natural, but how it, played out. And so, yeah, she was like, F that. And wasn't going to do, but then talking to the doctor's like, no, you don't have to go C-section. So again, that decision is completely up to her. I am, yes, ma'am. I go where I'm told, when I'm told. doing what I'm told.
Hey, maybe your wish will come true with my child, though, Dustin. That might be late June.
Sweet.
You got you
It's
got
mid-June
middle.
right now.
Yeah.
I forget. Does first-time pregnancies typically come early or later? Isn't that-
Typically late, I
Typically
think.
late.
Later, but I think and this is old wives' tale stuff, so I don't know if it's true, but they say boys usually are the ones that are later. Which I mean, Bennett was later, so that's anecdotal.
Sure.
I mean, Callie was so desperate to get him out of there that we went to a place in Hopkins that served a burger called the Labor Inducer. So.
The other thing is nowadays you can go in there and get induced. I mean, we picked it. It got, because Everly's due date was May 16th. And we went in there like May 12th, May 13th, something like that. She was born on the 13th. So I think we went in on the 12th and, the wife was induced. So now, yeah, you can kind of, hey, I'll let it play out how it's going to, but a week to my due date, we're going in and come on. So, yeah, you play it how you want to, but yeah, a lot of the old ways that like how our parents had us, where you just kind of let it go. Now people like my sister-in-law, she's like, yeah, my brother, because they had scheduled C-section. It was like we ordered, takeout, and then we went and then, oh yeah, here's your baby.
Thank you.
Walk in there. I ordered a number 7 with a Coke.
Do I tip?
Oh no, you don't have to. Medical professional get their money. You don't need to give them any more.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, it's a lot of big things going on for all of us. So very exciting times. But congrats, Greg. That's awesome news. Now you've got one of each coming along. So
yeah.
So on to some Star Wars stuff. So the first thing I have, and we don't have to go too far into this, just depends on what you guys want. So the Mandalorian new trailer was released over the halftime of the Monday night game this past week. Any initial thoughts on it? We can, if you want, I can run through it and we can watch it, or we can just talk about it a little bit. Any thoughts on that?
So I don't know if we need to run through it, but I thought it was a great trailer, except that one piece of dialogue where he's like, Mandalorians need to be travelers too, or something weird like that. It was kind of out of place. It was not very badass, I would say. I was like, oh, you're
really? I got hyped up for that season with that.
That one
pretty
one
pumped.
wasn't nearly as bad as him going, I have to go to Mandalore to atone for my sins. Like, you took your helmet off. Calm down, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, I get that, but like, to me, that piece of dialogue, it's not exciting. Oh, I got to go travel the galaxy. Like, it's like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy,
Right.
With Mandalorians.
I will say, I want to know who has the lightsabers. Like, there's that one quick, and it's like a hallway full.
That's a flashback scene.
Yeah, that's the Order
That's a
66.
That's a Grogu
Was
Jedi
it?
Academy scene. I'm pretty confident.
Don't care.
and we're
I
about
still
to
want to
see-
know who. I still want to know who those individuals are.
Yeah,
They're
we're
gonna
about
last
to see
all 4
Anakin
seconds.
blow through those doors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
they're
think
gonna
we
last
will?
all 4 seconds.
Is
It's
that
gonna
where
be-
we get
it's gonna
Plo
be a
Koon?
comparison. Who lasts longer, like the Jedi that faced Palpatine, or these guys? Like,
Yeah.
do a race, time it.
So do we have any further thought who did, save Grogu? Because that's what this is leading to, at least in my opinion, for who got him
Please be
out of there.
Quinlan Voss.
I
Yeah,
hope so.
I think it's probably Quinlan as well. I'm gonna throw out Mace Windu just for fun though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Just half of him floats down, and he didn't get cut in half, but
He's pretty quick after being thrown out of a building, to run back and to the Jedi Council and save.
Well, the purchase, it doesn't happen right away, so there's a little bit of a time gap there.
There's true. There
Probably
is a little
enough
bit of,
where he could probably have swooped in. But yeah, I think
and he's
most
an effing
likely
Jedi,
it's
so he
Quinlan.
can do anything.
Yeah,
Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say most likely it's Quinlan, but I keep I don't know, like Sam J wants to come back to Star Wars, so I'm like any way to get Sam J back, I'm just gonna keep hyping it up.
Yeah. Well, the big question I had coming out of it too is, you're seeing more Mandalorians, and obviously they don't look similar. They all have different colored gear. So who are these man? They're not, night owls. They're not Death Watch. Because it's not like a uniform legion. So are they like the foundlings that he's relocated or re-got in touch with? Do you know what scene I'm talking about? Where you see there's like two of them that have night owl helmets that have been repainted. And then you've got your standard Mandalorian helmets, but they're all different colors. So
I think it's Sabine. It's like
you think it's Sabine
group. Yeah, that's my theory.
I like that
because I think
theory.
they're going to start to try and connect it to Ahsoka. So I feel like Sabine will probably be in this season. My ultimate theory is that we're going to see Thrawn in like the last episode. It'll be like that sort of the Thanos moment at the end of the first Avengers, where you see him kind of at the end.
Well, and it would be on par with what they did with the last season of Mandalorian, because you get your Ahsoka, and now you're getting an Ahsoka show, and then you had Boba Fett, and you had the Book of Boba Fett show.
So we're getting a Thrawn show,
or you're getting something. I feel like
no, Mike, you said we're getting a Thrawn show. Breaking news!
I hope we're getting a Thrawn show.
If Thrawn's in Mando season 3, we're getting the Thrawn show in 2024.
You might,
yes, please.
maybe Ezra too. Who knows? But that might be more for the Ahsoka show that comes out. But so it just makes me wonder, like, what from this show is going to lead into other shows, or even, shows of their own. So, and then they've also released the directors that will be included for these episodes. You've got Bryce Dallas Howard, Rick, is that Famuyiwa? I'm butchering that. I know he did other episodes from Mandalorian. You've got Carl Weathers, Lee Isaac Chung, Peter Ramsey, and Rachel Morrison. So I'm really excited for the Bryce Dallas Howard stuff, because she did a really good job.
Her episodes are always great.
Yeah. No Deborah Chow. I would have thought we might have seen one from her, but because didn't she work on other Mandalorian episodes? I know she did all of the Obi-Wan Kenobi ones, but it might have been Book of Boba Fett that she did. But
I think it was I thought it was Boba that she may have done like an episode or two. She's probably in charge of that Vespa episode.
Nah, that was
that was what's his face. Yeah, Rodriguez.
That was all him.
And then Jon Favreau wrote all 8 episodes, and Dave Filoni helped with number 4 and number 7. So keep an emphasis on those 2 episodes. And then one other news bit. I thought this was pretty astounding. The Galactic Starcruiser, for the first time, is giving out discounts.
They also canceled dates.
Yeah, they canceled it. I'm sure they're having a hard time making sales because of how expensive it already is. I mean, it's what, $5,000 for a party of 2 to stay for a
double
weekend.
Double occupancy.
That's
I
so
saw that.
Nuts.
And
I'm sure they're having nobody come. That's why they need to do discounts.
I think, there was, after that first year, that was booked up. The first year it was open, but how many people have that pent up desire to go to, live the Star Wars life? And
right.
I still want to go. So if somebody doesn't want to go, DM me. I'll get you the address. You send me your tickets.
I feel bad for my, the guy I work with who probably spent all that money. He's like, oh gosh, just wait a year.
Well, he might feel better because they're announcing it as a discount, but the discount isn't actually applying to the amount that you're spending for the actual reservation of the Starcruiser. It's for the stuff around it. So,
well, he's got like 2 kids that are like into it, so he probably would have appreciated that discount.
Yeah, because it says
where they get you
so much money.
It says that Disney has approached its first public discounted trip with the Starcruiser, not by dropping the price of the Starcruiser itself, but by deeply discounting Disney resort stays around that experience. So it's not even discounting the actual Starcruiser, it's the elements around it. So if you go to see other, like it says, save $350 per night at Disney's Beach Club Resort, Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, or Disney's Yacht Club. Save $250 a night at Disney's Animal Kingdom,
Oh, so they're yeah, so they're,
Yeah, because you're gonna spend it's
That-
like 2 days or something like that.
Yeah, it's
2 days, 3 nights or something like that.
2 nights,
And-
3. Yeah.
And if you're going to Disney, you're not doing that. Like you're gonna go there for an entire week, so you have to
Right.
find some accommodation somewhere else. So to get you to go to Star Cruiser, you can still go to Disney. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're still saving money overall on your whole trip.
It's like getting a refund, but the refund is store credit. Like you still got to
Yeah.
shop at the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, I think that's a little bit of an admittance from them that maybe we're overcharging this a little bit, because I feel like Disney's pretty much a stickler when it comes to discounting or
Well, yeah, they don't have to. Yeah.
yeah. Usually they don't.
I love the canceling out dates, and then they go, yeah, it's our refurbishing season. Like we have to clean it up and refurb. At some point you got to take a little bit of a break to make sure everything's working properly. I was like, no, you're canceling that because you only have half occupancy, so you're pushing everybody to where you'll have full occupancy,
Right.
which shows lack of demand.
Yep.
Well, I also, I don't know. It's so pricey. It's like, just thinking in my head, I'm like, you could, with that money, you could go to Celebration in London,
Oh,
pay
for
for your
sure.
flight over
Oh, yeah.
there, go to the Celebration the entire time,
you can probably fly
and
business
pay
class
for
too.
like a nice hotel there, and buy a bunch of stuff and still come out ahead, like well ahead of 2 nights at Galactic Starcruiser.
$5,000. I just don't get it. And it's
Yeah.
not like it's a 5-star hotel room. Like it's
Right.
I love the comparisons of the sleeping quarters being like the prison block in Andor. If you look at the bunk beds, they're really similar to the beds from the prison. So they're like, oh, so you get to stay in like a prison for $5,000. But I still want to go. Not for that, not for that much, but I have to believe eventually they're going to drop those prices, because it's not sustainable if they want to keep this going. Because
no,
yeah,
I
after
think they
a
have
few
to take
years,
a
they
zero
have to.
off that price at the very least.
yeah, maybe
Yeah, if
offer
you're gonna do like a 4-family, like if they did it 4 families at like 2,800 or something, like if you're just over half of it, 2,800 gets you the 2 days 3 nights, or 3 days 2 nights for like a family of 4. Now it's $700, but it's like an all-inclusive.
Mhm.
That I could justify. I don't know if my wife would justify it, but I just got to get the kids old enough to get on my side. Then we outvote her 3-1.
Well, and I think what's annoying for people too is I feel like there's probably a lot to do there, because they want people not just to go once, they're going to want people to come back. And I know it's very immersive with the things that you can do on there, and you can be like a Jedi, or you can be, first order person. So there's different roles you can play throughout your experience there. So, I mean, I think the annoying thing is that you only get 2 nights for that amount of money too. Like maybe keep that price, but extend, the duration of the experience a little bit.
A week, like a week-long deal, Mike, you think?
Or even just double 4 nights. Do like 4 nights, 5 days type of a thing. So you actually get to spend time to do it, because you also have access to Galaxy's Edge while you're on this thing too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So allow people to do more, because if people are like, well, I can only do so much in 2 days and I'm going to be spending all this money. No, I don't want to do that. I'll just go to Galaxy's Edge and hang out there for a while. So Disney, listen to us. But let's move into Bad Batch now, because I think that's where we want to spend a majority of our time. And we'll kind of talk through each episode individually. We won't combine them. So we'll start with episode 3, the solitary clone. So I'll just kind of walk through as a reminder for what happened. So for the most part, the Bad Batch did not show up in this episode outside of Crosshair. And it starts where there's like this Imperial battalion fly to a planet called Desix. I think it was Desix. And it's a trade federation planet or system. And essentially the Empire wants them to hand over the governorship over to them. And the locals, specifically, what was her name? Tani? Yeah, Tani, who's the current governor, says, no, we're not going to do that. And long story short, they hold them hostage and take them in as prisoners. So then Crosshair gets called in to the mess hall of, I don't know where their base is right now, but he gets called in, and Rampart, is it Admiral Rampart? Yes, Admiral Rampart gives him a mission that he has to go help liberate, the people that have been imprisoned, the Imperials that have been imprisoned, and take over control of Desix. But he's not put as the lead. Instead, we get good old Commander Cody comes in, and he'll be leading the group over. And long story short, they fly in, they battle some droids. Again, it's, the
Ass whooping.
a little bit. Hey, how about his sniper shot through the barrel of the cannon?
That was cool.
I loved, the shots prior to it. Like, I mean, he could have ended them real quick, but he had that game plan of, nope, I'm just going to piss them off enough to where they bring the cannon where I want it to be.
Yep.
That was really cool.
Well, and I loved his line that he was talking about the weakness is their own droids controlling it.
Mhm.
That's paraphrasing, but I thought that was a really cool little line.
I'm just happy to see, Crosshair back. I mean,
yeah,
sure, he's
in
on
action.
the wrong side, but he's such a badass.
He is doing the things that he does best.
Yeah.
And so they storm this castle or whatever it is, and they pretty much knock out all the Trade Federation battle droids. And then the final encounter is that Governor Tani is holding Groton, which is the other commander from the Empire, being held hostage. And Commander Cody is able to negotiate, like, there's a peaceful way to resolve this. She ends up agreeing, letting go of the commander or the admiral. And that admiral, right away says, okay, execute her. And, they're clones. So clones follow orders, but he kind of hesitates, meaning Commander Cody. He doesn't quite want to do it. But then Crosshair comes in and snipes her out, and she falls dead. And then you can totally tell that Commander Cody is going through this, he's thinking about this situation. Like, is this right? Are we actually on the right side here? And then the episode ends kind of how it starts with,
Hey, Mudge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a quick guest. Hey, Derek.
It's pretty fucking good.
Oh, hey, we're podcasting now, so just say hi to the group.
Oh, hey guys.
Hi, D.
Hey.
I'll talk to you later about
Howdy.
it. He's talking about The Last of Us. I told him to watch it. So, all right, I'll let you go, man. Love you.
Hey, hold on. Can I just say something?
Yeah.
She's clearly the cure.
Okay. Well,
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Tell them we're live.
For a completely
we're
different
live.
show.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All right. Love you, dude. See ya. Bye.
All right. So
I thought it would have been cooler, but like the last time.
tell them to chat in the chat box. That's where you can say
He ain't
that.
gonna do that.
And then the episode wraps up kind of how it starts, with Crosshair in the mess hall, and then he gets called in by Rampart again with a new mission. But then Crosshair asks about Cody, and Rampart says that he has gone AWOL, and that's kind of how it ends. So
Did you see? And I apologize because this was like 2 weeks ago. Did you see like a battalion of like stormtroopers?
yeah,
In that shot. So obviously not clone troopers, but
and strategically you saw clone troopers flying out and stormtroopers being brought in, and I thought that was very symbolic of what's going on in the Empire right now. So what are your guys' thoughts about the episode?
I don't know. People were like super hyped about it. And I don't know. It was okay. This
I'm
season
kind of the
hasn't
same
really
boat.
got me, but good episode juxtaposed next to complete hot garbage. And we'll talk about that.
So Zach, what are your thoughts? Because you were saying you're not sure.
So I liked the episode. I think generally, like, my issue is like with the Bad Batch has always been like, this might be a controversial take, maybe not. I just don't find the clones that compelling as main characters. And so like I have a hard time with just the idea of the Bad Batch, I think. Like there are good, like even last season, like I'm like, okay, there's like episodes that captivated me, but then there were like episodes that I'm like, okay, like I can just move on with my life. I don't really need to see this. And I think I have to keep in mind, like, this show is probably not quite for me anyways. It's probably for a younger demographic a little bit. Like, I don't know. So like I just generally have a hard time with it. I liked the episode, but like it's been hard for me to get into this show specifically. Outside of like the end of like I loved the finale of the last season, the Camino scene and the end of it, mainly because I'm a giant Timothy Zahn fan and what he contributed to the EU. So to see Mount Tannis come back, like be brought into canon, was awesome.
Yeah.
So like that's what made me most excited about season 1. So like I think I just have a hard time with this show in general. I did like the last episode or episode 3. This one we'll get to episode 4. Yeah, was not a fan of episode 4.
Well, I think for me, because and I think this kind of supports your point about like the clones or maybe even the Bad Batch not being like the focus point. Like it's hard to maintain that or build like an impactful story out of that. But I think for me, and it's kind of what I wanted out of this show, is that I think the actual main focus is the Empire and what's transpiring there. And they're just using like either the clones or the Bad Batch to, play that story out. And because originally they were kind of like torn between the two. I mean, they're a product of both. But I just think it's very symbolic and very interesting what is transpiring within the Empire. Because now you notice like they're not going by their names, they're going by their numbers. When Rampart calls Crosshair in, it was what, CT2209 or whatever his number was. So it's like they're dehumanizing all the clones. And I don't know, I just thought that was very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, what are your thoughts?
It feels disjointed, like that, kind of piggybacking off of, what you guys with the Bad Batch. It just, each episode just is fractured. It just feels fractured. Like, it's the story isn't what carries you from episode to episode. It's like the story's just along for the ride. Whereas I'd like to have, if it is about the Empire and like the growth of the Empire just through the eyes of the Bad Batch, then make that, like kind of the focal point of, but they're off on, this one, the solitary clone didn't have the Bad Batch. It was, which, that was part of what I did like about this episode though, was because Crosshair wasn't a part of wasn't really in season 2 yet, bringing him and focusing in on kind of his turn that you saw in season 1 and, and then building upon that was nice. But it's hard to, stay engaged show to show because there isn't that central story that, that they're pushing through the season. At least I don't get the sense of that. I mean, I don't know how, like these 2 episodes, I don't know at all how they connect to the first 2 episodes of this season. It was, very much, I don't know if I saw it online or if it was, I think Dustin may have messaged about it being like visions, where it was, and I think he was comparing the episode 4 to a few
the band episode
of visions that were less than ideal, but it's still like in my mind, it works out each episode while it fits because it's within the same, like season of a show. They also don't really fit together. And I don't know, that disjointed, if you're doing this, that I think that's what made Rebels so great, was episode to episode, it carried forward a main story plot. And this doesn't have it. I wish that they would follow yours, Mike, and just tell us how the Empire grew, and use the Bad Batch as our eyes into that story would be really kind of a cool way of telling it. Now, with that said, I did like the fact that Commander Cody finally regretted his decision to shoot at Kenobi. Finally, it took forever, but better late than never, Cody. I was fully expecting him to be gone though. Like, he deserted. Spoiler alert.
So you thought he would be AWOL before the episode?
I thought they were going to kill him. I fully expected Crosshair to take him out, make it look like friendly fire, but realistically, like, no. All right, Cody's starting to turn. He's got to go.
And I don't mean to like set expectations in any way, but I think you're still going to get that. And
Cody gone?
I don't think Cody is going to last the Bad Batch. Whether it's this season or a following season, I don't think he's going to last. And I think he's still going to play a part. And I know Dave Filoni likes to pull at our heartstrings when it comes to clones.
He's definitely, he'll definitely come like episode 9, 10, maybe a little bit later. He's going to sacrifice himself to save Hunter or Omega or someone from the Bad Batch. Yeah,
But if you had a guess on where he's going now that he's gone AWOL, where do you think he's going?
Rex.
And when we see Rex in Rebels, where is he and who is he with? Or who is he not with?
Cody.
No, this is going to be a pop quiz.
He's not with Cody. So what happens to Cody?
He's on a grocery run. Clearly.
I don't know. I'm just trying to connect the dots in my head. And there is a moment, Rex goes into hiding at some point. So what drives him to all of that? And that might be Commander Cody or the fall of Commander. Again, purely speculating and don't want to set expectations.
No, he's not. Mike's a secret writer for.
But no, when you were talking about the disjointedness of these episodes, in my head, I was thinking that makes sense, especially with your love for Rebels, because this is more Clone Wars type. But at the same time, at least Clone Wars had arcs that had a bunch of stories together, and then they would, put different arcs together for a particular season. And the way that this season's been going, at least, it's not even arcs; it's just stories in different places at different times, type of thing.
Even
which brings us to episode 4.
Almost.
Well, and even like Clone Wars,
talk about it so bad.
Clone Wars, though, even though it was more disjointed than Rebels was, I think kind of to Zach's point, it felt like that skewed, and maybe it was just because we were younger when Clone Wars came out, and so we were part of the target market there. But it felt like, while it's disjointed, the story is still tailored to us. And whereas this is disjointed and not tailored to us. So it's like, well, I can't deal with the disjointed because the messaging isn't for me. Whereas if all right, I understand, you're still telling my story. It's just telling it as if I'm drunk at 3 a.m. So the whole story is there. It's just where it fits together. Pieces might not be in the same spot.
Well, and the other thing I find fascinating about this show, specifically what this episode was alluding to, is you have clones that are going AWOL, and you have clones that are only becoming more loyal to the Empire, and they're all produced in the same means. So you've got this division. So what is creating that like choice for them, or maybe lack of a choice of what side they go to? Like, are some of their chips still working really well that the Empire still has control of, whereas others are kind of like fading? So as they become to their own senses, kind of like what Cody was in that episode, are they starting to think maybe we're not on the right side? And I know I think it's Legends, there is a thing that's the Clone Civil War. And I wonder if this might be leading to something similar where clones end up fighting clones. And you've got like Rex and Cody or what Bad Batch on one side.
Clones already fighting clones?
Yeah, more or less. In certain ways they are.
I mean, the Bad Batch are fighting clones, and they're clones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So are you going to get more of that division? And is that division going to become a conflict that maybe the Empire is not even thinking of at the moment, because they're starting to bring in stormtroopers. And I can't remember, are they using clones for stormtroopers at this point, or are they hired people for all stormtroopers?
It's a mix, I think.
I think
I
you're
think
right.
stormtroopers generally are humans.
Yeah.
But like they're mixing clone troopers with humans. Like so like I think they're trying to show you that and that was like what Lucas is saying, is that over time they just slowly fade the clones out of the army and it ends up being all humans.
Right.
By the time A New Hope happens.
Right. So that's kind of what I'm finding fascinating about this show. I do agree. Episode 4 is kind of like, where did that come from? And I thought episode 1 and 2 was good, and it kind of gave some insight to that. But with how the Empire is being ran, especially with Rampart shooting his own clone or own clone commander to ensure the secrecy of the Bad Batch still being out there. But I don't know. I'm really enjoying the view of the Empire through these clones or through the Bad Batch, and we'll be interested to see how that plays out. On to episode 4. Dustin, I know you probably are the most passionate about this right now, so I'll let you start us off with this one.
I want to quote something that you're all familiar with. I'm going to do it in the context of the episode. At no point did you produce a coherent thought. We are all dumber for having watched it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on our souls. Like, this episode was hot garbage. Like it I texted in the group, what a waste of time for us. It did nothing. And like the episode starts and they're like, oh yeah, Commander and Echo are off on another mission. I'm like, oh crap, here we go. Like filler, you knew it was coming. I hate Sid's character, by the way. I don't like her. The voice actor doesn't fit with like the character, like a Trandoshan, and that it just doesn't match to me. So having her as a focal point of the episode is also a negative. But then it's like pod racing. It gives me PTSD of episode 1 and the Phantom Menace, and that complete waste of time. It was kind of
you didn't like. You didn't like pod racing? That was like the best thing of episode 1.
Dude, I don't like racing stuff. Like it doesn't do anything for me, and that's me. That's most fans maybe enjoy that, but
yeah,
it does have a lot of parallels to episode 1, right? Because they had he had a win for her freedom. And first of all, the bad guy was poorly animated. He looked super goofy. He had like these giant feet. His voice,
Dude, he looked like Thrawn. That was my first thought. Like when I saw, I was like,
Thrawn? Are you kidding?
Or not Thrawn. No. Why am I blanking on the name?
Like
what is he from?
Huh?
From what?
From Marvel.
The Thing.
Thanos?
Thanos. There it is.
Okay.
Ooh,
yeah, I could say that.
A little.
I don't see Thrawn, but I see Thanos.
No. It wasn't Thrawn. I knew it started with a TH though. So.
I mean, just the whole episode. It didn't do anything for the overall plot of the show
that we know of so far, at least.
What could it have produced? Oh, that Tech is good at racing now.
No, it set the stage for Sid to turn on him.
You could see from a mile
exactly
away that Tech was going to be like the driver that saved their butt. And
I knew it was going to be. I almost thought it was going to be Omega, and I'm like, are they going to go full Anakin Skywalker again? And this is where Omega comes in, and they bring to light or emphasize that she's force sensitive by being able to race a pod. Because remember, Anakin's the only human that can do it. So now Echo can.
They're clones, Michael. They're clones.
Do you know who the voice actor was of Teo? I'm going to say it, and you're going to be like, absolutely. It's Ben Schwartz.
I knew I recognized that
Gene
voice.
Ralphio. And it's literally Gene Ralphio in a robot.
I was like, who is this? Who is this? And I didn't even look it up. So
I knew it from I knew it from the first second. I confirmed it that he's the voice actor. And I don't know. It's just Gene Ralphio's character in a Star Wars show just seems out of place to me.
I agree with you though. Like as soon as that started, like they were gonna race, I'm like, that droid's not gonna be the one racing. Something's gonna happen.
Oh, of course not. Yeah.
But I mean, I did make the connection with the pod racing like when it first started. But as it went on, I'm like, no, this is actually more Mario Kart than it is pod racing.
Kind of, yeah. Except no turtles.
No turtles, but you can, shoot rockets or lasers or whatnot.
Yeah, and there's like some really hokey dialogue towards the end. Like,
yeah.
Oh, we gotta get Sid back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Save for us. No, she
just
wouldn't.
just kind of a quick summary of the episode. So essentially all that
Here's
it
a
is.
summary. Skip it. Just save you 28 minutes.
A bet is made, a bet is lost, and a double or nothing is in state for Sid's freedom versus what? They pay them double? Is that what it was?
Yeah. By the way, what did
and they had 24 hours essentially to do it, or 48, 2 days, 1 day, one or the other.
Like, what did they get out of the deal? Just Sid? Like,
yeah, just Sid.
Up the stakes a little bit. Like, the guy was going to be rich from you losing, and you just get Sid.
Yeah,
Omega's, she's young. She doesn't know how to negotiate.
She's older than Tech. Technically,
I mean, Wrecker's an idiot.
Sure.
Thank you for catching that, Dustin. What's that? What about Wrecker?
He's an idiot. He's not going to negotiate.
Yeah.
Tech wouldn't have made the deal. You could tell that right away. He wasn't on board with it. But what are you going to do?
Yeah.
She's the Omega.
Right. But yeah, throughout the episode, with all the emphasis of the droid saying like, your analysis isn't going to match what my capability is for calculating the, racing and whatnot. Because I think throughout the
skill.
Yeah.
You're a robot. What are you talking about?
Because Tech keeps giving advice or his input on how he would race or what he would do. And the droid keeps like bashing that down. And then of course, Echo is the one Tech is the one that ends up racing. So
that Teo character belonged on Resistance.
That's exactly what I thought too. 100%. I was like, he feels like something out of Resistance. I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking that exact same thing. He really reminded me of Nico. Do you remember Nico from that show?
Oh yeah.
That's who I was. That's who I was thinking of when I listened to that. I'm like, man, that's Nico.
He had like that same style voice. Like that,
yeah, the voice is very similar, and the same mannerisms. And he's like all like vocal with his
same
motions.
level of annoying. I mean, just. Ugh.
I guess we're the only two that have seen Resistance, aren't we?
In the world.
Yeah. Probably.
That's why
I refuse to watch it. I'm like, no, thank you. Will not watch it.
That's the only.
What Teo should have been riding is the Vespa. You right on the Vespa.
Oh God.
That's so amazing that you said that though, Greg. I'm so happy you did, because I didn't want to bring it up, but you brought it up. So we went there.
The creators of Resistance are like, see, we made it.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
I will say there are some episodes of Resistance that were better than episode 4 of Bad Batch.
And why were they good? They were only good because they referenced what happened in the Force
They're part
Awakens.
of the major story,
like,
right?
That's all it is. Like the whole episode itself was but like those like 3 minutes that referenced the Force Awakens, you're like, this whole episode was great. No. 21 minutes of it sucked. 3 minutes were really good.
But I do like pod racing, so I think that.
Did you have the pod racing video game?
Oh yeah, N64.
Oh yeah. I want to remake it.
I want to know if this level or this race was one of those levels that they just brought into the episode.
No, because they didn't have any weapons on pod racers, did they?
No, I know, but I'm just saying like the course, because it wasn't like the Bunta Eve course but I wonder if it was one of the courses from the game, because there were quite a few. I feel like there was like 20 different courses you could race on.
Yeah, there was. I don't recall that being a core. It pulled maybe a couple elements. There's like the I want to say Ord Mantell level. like that there's some elements there. I don't think it's in pod racing though in the game.
No. But
But
I
there were
think you're
some
right,
elements
because like
that
there was
reminded
tunnels
me-
for some of them that you get to choose to go through for it. So
Yeah, I think it's like the Orbantel level where it's like you can choose to go like different paths
yeah,
and one's shorter than the other. But yeah, like now that Dustin said that it reminded him of Mario Kart, I'm like, yeah, it was like just a
No,
Mario Kart actually
Mud said that,
episode.
not me.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Yeah, it was like it reminded me of that. Like
Yeah.
just a big I'm like, I might as well just go play Mario Kart for 25 minutes versus watch this episode.
well, and maybe that was their intention. Like, let's dangle this idea for a potential new game that we could have, like a Star Wars Mario Kart game, and we'll see how it's received. But
Sami, Ateo.
hey, that Nintendo or that Mario movie is going to be coming out. I want to see that. Just a little
April,
tangent there.
right?
Yeah, it's a. So, is there anything else we want to say about this particular episode?
Thank God it's over.
I do want to,
It added nothing. Like it just like
just-
I think we all
except
like,
for one thing, and I think it was Greg's point, and I think that's true.
What
About-
Sid?
It's foreshadowing what
said.
Sid's going to do.
No.
But the
No.
problem was
No.
though,
Here's what
was
it's
that
gonna
that
do.
was something that you could see
Yeah,
prior
before
to it. You
prior
didn't need
to.
to go on this little racing adventure.
No,
to-
this is
to
well
foreshadow
And I
that.
didn't need to be told that by
Yeah.
a character. Like
Mhm.
it'd be better just to not be told that, and then that character
That's
flip.
fair.
Like
You know
now
what
I'm
they're
going to be
do.
expecting
They're
the
gonna do
character to
opposite.
flip the whole series.
They're gonna do the opposite. They're gonna make it like
Yeah,
look like
probably.
she betrayed him, but she really did. Like I'm calling it right now. I want a case of beer when I get this right. Like they're because that's a kid show, you know. Oh, we got to because she's gonna remember that they saved her. So that's what it's gonna do. I guarantee.
So maybe in a point where she normally would have betrayed them, now she won't.
I still could have done without that.
No, you know what's gonna happen. She's gonna betray him. She's gonna feel guilty about betraying them. So then she's going to try to unbetray them. And in that
She doesn't know
process-
that I know that she knows that.
And during the process of unbetraying and helping them, Crosshair or someone else from the Empire takes her out. She did.
All right.
I
She's
wouldn't mind that
gone
either.
too. But I think the betrayal comes first, and then she feels guilty because the betrayal leads to like a crap ton of money, but it's guilty money because she remembers the racing, vacation that they took and the pictures and the memories, and makes her feel bad. So in a moment of consciousness, she then tries to right a wrong and pays for it with her life. So then in the end, episode 4 isn't too bad because it led to the ultimate demise of Sid. So
Yeah, I will say, like, let the season run its course before any, but it's hard not to pass judgment on it because, like, it just seems like I hate to use the word filler, but that's kind of what it is.
You ever heard the term a spoiled apple, ruins the barrel or whatever it is?
Yeah,
It's kind of this
Something
episode
along
for
those
me
lines.
for the whole season. Like
you don't want to watch the whole season?
Ah, man, this? I was watching it and getting frustrated. Like,
Hey, you still watch the rest of Book of Boba after the Vespas?
I did, but that was also live action. So you take
Okay, so there's a
So
difference.
There's a little more leeway to me for live action. I
Okay,
also kept on watching Obi-Wan after the whole, Benny Hill like coat scene.
yeah.
And then they could have like just put that music to that scene and it would have been.
So I've got another question going back to Crosshair. So this isn't necessarily specific to episode 3, but just in general. I saw this thrown out there and it made me think a little bit. Do we think that Crosshair actually removed his chip, or does he just think his chip was removed? Because you remember was it when the whole Bad Batch were contained, didn't Tarkin or Rampart or someone like still send some kind of pulsing thing? Do you remember when they took Crosshair out and they put him under like that machine and kind of zapped him from season 1? Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Vaguely. Yeah, I don't remember all the specifics, but yeah.
But do we think that his is actually removed? Because he got like blasted in the side of the head and he's got that scar. So he might think that it's removed, but maybe it's actually still there and the Empire still has control over him.
It's entirely possible. I mean, although like I kind of feel like they're trying to seed this idea of like free will, like free will is powerful than this chip. Like in a lot of the dialogue that they've brought up of even in like season 7 of the Clone Wars, where it's like, even though I had this chip, I had the choice to obey this order or not. And so
True.
I do feel like if I like the fact that he's like, oh, my chip is gone, because it shows like, you know, I'm doing this of my free will. Like I still want to, you know, follow orders, even like of my own free will.
Right.
So I don't know.
So do you like to think that the chip is still in there, or do you like to think that it's not in there?
I think it's like gone. I like to think that it's gone.
Okay.
And that he's acting of his own volition.
Well, and that would like, and to your point, that'd be a great balance because you've got a example of someone who doesn't have their chip that's still following orders versus people or clones that do have their chip that are no longer following orders, like Cody. So.
Yeah, like Cody, because I'm pretty sure he still has his chip, right? Or to our knowledge.
Yeah. But, so with that episode with both of them, they're the two opposite. You know, they're in opposite situations and react differently. So I think
so they activated the chip, right? Order 66 did that. Does it, you know, I mean, that's the other question though is I have is how long does it remain active? Like, is it until they push the button again and turn it off? Is it a timer? You know, so they may have the chip and it's just no longer active, you know, because you would have to, maybe they have to go in and kind of recharge it, like, you know, do a reactivation on it. So that's where Cody still has his chip, but the power of the chip has kind of worn off to where now he can make his decisions with a free mind. And I don't like this. And then Crosshair has the chip still in, but wants to be on the Empire side. So that I'd be interested to know because Mike, you know, I mean, kind of to you guys' point, you have two clones, both with chips going separate directions.
Yeah.
Is it because one's overpowering the chip and the thoughts that that's pushing on it, or is the chip just not even active anymore?
See, between what you and Zach said, like the way you guys are phrasing that definitely sounds like a Dave Filoni thing. Like you're going deep into like the psyche in terms of the power of will, because you've got Crosshair's power of will, which is to follow orders. I need to be a soldier. I need to do that. So that's going to control his destiny. And then Commander Cody, on the other hand, his power of will is doing the right thing, or, you know, like the Bad Batch. But obviously we know that they've had their chips removed. So it maybe the discussion and maybe what the show is going to play out through, you know, Dave Filoni's vision is the power of will versus the power of control, like from the Empire. So that really does sound like a Dave Filoni type of thing to me.
A very strong, subtle undertone.
Yeah, but extremely deep.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm still excited to see how the season will play out, and they'll have good episodes again. Don't worry, they're not going to have all misses. They'll have some good ones remaining. And there's 16 episodes.
Yeah. Your idea of taking the story and making it focused on the Empire is, I mean, that's the fact that this season's already been written, and, you know, unless you've hit it dead on, Mike, I'm gonna be a little disappointed because now that's the season that's what I want to see.
Well, that's kind of what we got out of Andor too.
Yeah. We've talked about it.
Cassian has a little bit more of a deeper story in terms of like what we've been presented for Star Wars versus the Bad Batch. But
we've talked about it, you know, off cam, you know, like offline, online, you know, all that about telling like the Empire side of, you know, the story. Like you were given glimpses in all the other content. Let us behind the curtain and give us a glimpse into life of the Empire, because they're bad, they're the bad guys, but it's still a intriguing story, with multiple characters on that side. So
100%.
And it'd be a new story to tell, because we have enough Jedi and other good guy stories.
Yeah, and I mean, the other direction that we're completely forgetting to talk about is Omega's direction and the role that her character is going to play in the overarching story as it pertains to whether it's cloning, to the Empire searching for force sensitive people. We don't know if she's force sensitive, but she could be. So there is still a story to be told with her within her own character as well, and I think we're going to get more of that as the season progresses as well. So any final word?
It makes me want a Palpatine show, though. Like all this from like different point of view. I'm like, I just give me a Palpatine. Like I want to see like the big bad, like him as the main character at some point in time.
I just want to know like what all is going according to his original plan that he thought out, and what are situations that he had to audible on. Like, okay, I didn't expect this to happen, so I'm going to do this instead. Like, I wish there was something that could tell us like what his true plan was overall, which, I mean, that's going to be too hard to present to us.
Zach, with a Palpatine show, where in the timeline would you want it? Would you want it from like just after Order 66 and like the beginning part of like when the Empire was being built, or like some point in the middle where they're like at their heyday?
I want like a House of Dragons, like time jump type.
Oh, okay.
Like, tell me the story. Like maybe start me right before, like right as he's coming to power as a senator, and then maybe time jump me throughout the first season, to the point where he takes over the Empire. Maybe with some flashbacks, and then like you do like another season where he's fully in charge, another few seasons where he's full on big bad, and maybe like the last season you do post Return of the Jedi and how he sort of cobbles himself back together to Rise of Skywalker.
That'd be a good one. I would really like that, because in season 2 you would then be able to get Vader coming and going.
Yeah.
With what missions that Palpatine sends him on.
And I think you could do like flashbacks to show like his training as a Sith and stuff like that in the first season. Like that would be really cool. I don't know. It just makes me like all this stuff that sort of dances around Palpatine makes me just want, I'm like, we should just get a Palpatine show or at some point. Or like, I mean, I know even after Obi-Wan, I think we all were like, let's get a Vader show here.
Yeah.
Well, and I think if you follow any Star Wars social media, like Facebook group or anything, one of the things that you see a lot is people want an explanation behind the quote from Rise of Skywalker, like somehow Palpatine returned. And they're thinking all this material that we're getting is looking to explain that. But I would argue to say that I am less interested in that and more interested in what you said, Zach, in terms of, more of the before prequel era, or, around that episode 1 of how he kind of came into power with the Sith and took over, political control and all that. I would be far more interested in something like that, because I think that still needs an explanation more than, I mean, we have some sort of explanation, but I want like a visual story of that versus, how he returned in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah,
that's just my
totally
opinion.
Agree. Yeah.
All right. So any final things on the last 2 episodes of Bad Batch? Nothing. All right. So I will just give a quick shout out to all of our social media platforms and handles. So on Twitter at DetBlockAA23pod, on Instagram at detention_block_AA_23, and then our Facebook group and YouTube channel names, Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. Bring us your likes, your downloads, subscriptions, reviews, all of that. We greatly appreciate all that you guys have to say. That's what we're here for. I mean, we're here to discuss Star Wars, but we also want to hear from all of you. So really enjoying the live broadcast portion of it. I know I did one with the trailer, the Mandalorian trailer, and I was able to have conversation with two of our fans in the middle of that. So I greatly enjoyed it. Any final thoughts from any of you with Star Wars in general or anything?
Horror series Star Wars Last of Us kind of deal.
Wait, what was that? I missed the first part.
Like a Star Wars Last of Us kind of show.
You just want to talk about Last of Us.
We'll talk we'll talk about that. We've overstayed our welcome, but
I should have recorded our original conversation before we went live of Last of Us. It was good stuff. Which, go watch that show, go play that game. They'll be worth it to all you listeners.
my brother never, my twin brother who called in the middle of this live recording, I told him, like, you gotta watch the show. You gotta. And he's like, oh, you're not a video game guy. I'm not gonna know what's going on. I'm like, dude, trust me. And he called, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah, you don't need to be a gamer to enjoy the show at all. Like,
No.
I think we were saying before we hopped on, my wife and I watched it. My wife has no context for the show, really liked it.
I didn't either. I mean,
Yeah, and she's not the one who's like super into post-apocalyptic stuff, but it's enough it was like she really liked it enough to keep watching, so, which is good. Keep this going on Sunday nights when it's out.
Yeah. And the story in general, it goes far deeper than like apocalyptical, like zombie type stuff. So it gets into survival and loyalties and all of that kind of stuff, which is absolutely fantastic. Anything else? Greg, final thought? You know, anything about that? Is that boy going to be a baseball player? Going to be a catcher like his dad?
I don't know. Well, we'll see.
hey, the Vikings won as many playoff games as the Packers did, so there's that.
I was going to avoid talking about that, but it's hard not to make some kind of reference to it.
Also, like less than a month, spring training starts, so that's pretty exciting.
I can't wait for that. Baseball is just around the corner. And now
The really depressing thing about that, especially living in like Wisconsin, Minnesota, is that you watch like some of the spring training games and they're down in Florida and you're like, oh God. I'm gonna be in Florida for like 2 weeks next month though. So
yeah, we'll be watching Ari, right?
You sure will be.
All right. Well, with that, we will wrap up this episode. So thanks for joining with us today. Thanks for spending time to listen to what we have to say. And again, bring us your opinions, bring us your thoughts. And we are Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Michael Mudge, joined by Greg Van Beck, Dustin DeFranco, Zach Alt, and may the force be with you.
And also with Greg's wife, because she's having 2 kids and it's crazy.
Well, she's only having one, but
okay,
it will be her
gonna
second.
have 2 kids. You guys are screwed.
All right, bye guys.
Hey, who here watches Yellowstone?
Hold on, I
I don't, but I've like